live streaming on 2 channels.
Hello.
Good morning, all. How are we doing today? Meh.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I was saying to you earlier. So today's an anniversary for me. It's 2 years today since my mum died. So I'm okay at the moment, and I think I'm going to be all right generally. But it's funny because we were just talking about it. I was with her when she died, and just after it happened, that used to come back to me an awful lot. That memory of being with her, and you know, her being there. So, but
yeah, I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
I know. I kind of felt, because she was in it. So my mum had Alzheimer's, and it was all very quick. I think she'd had it for a long time, and we just didn't know. Because I think with Alzheimer's, people just become like an exaggerated version of themselves. So she just became a bit more forgetful, or a bit more irritable, or a bit more whatever it would be, and so we didn't see it. So I think she probably had it for quite some time. But when she died, she was in a care home, and they told us she was end of life. They believed she was end of life, and she was. So you know, you feel like the right thing to do is to be with her, if you know, like. So we were all there. My brother, my sister, me and my dad as well, who, bless him, 3 months later he passed away as well, very unexpectedly. So yeah, so it's a day just like today, beautifully sunny day, really incongruous. Like, it's the weirdest feeling.
It's a good word.
Well, I did write things for quite a long time. I've got a lot of words. But yeah, it was really, it just didn't feel like, how can it be sunny when someone who's such a big figure in your life is dying, you know? So yeah, that I think was the start of a lot of thinking about stuff. How is it sunny and she's dying? How do I feel about this? What are my emotions right now? For me, I just sort of dredged it all up, and then for the next, 2 years, still going, still processing it all. That's how it has been for me. So, but you obviously have experience of all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I still have my mum, but we lost my dad in 2013.
Gosh, so 11 years now.
Yeah, and this weekend would have been my parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Oh.
Just gone. I don't know, I'm a bit of a robot when it comes to death. I think we've had this conversation before. Like, I've got a lot to say on the subject, but it's not going to be in alignment with most people's experiences or beliefs, perhaps.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there is. So my feeling, let's see what you say, but my feeling is there is no right or wrong way to do it. There's just how you feel.
That's what people say until they judge you for doing it a way that's different to theirs.
Okay, fire away. Let's see what you did.
Well, okay, so let's just talk bereavements first. So over a period of, I think, 3 years, I'd lost 2 grandparents, my cousin's daughter who was 12, my uncle, my dad's brother, in his 50s, and then my dad, also in his 50s, and then my partner at the time's grandparent. But so there was a significant, and I don't think prior to that I'd really experienced much significant loss. My grandfather died when I was about 5 or 6. And I remember him, but I don't, it wasn't.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine took his own life when we were in my early 20s, but in a very short space of time there was a lot. But what I have never done in my whole life is cried over death.
Okay.
I'm a bit of a robot anyway, struggle to get those emotions out. But for me, it's the one thing we're all born to do.
Death, die.
It's completely unavoidable for all of us, for any living being. And I don't necessarily find sadness in death. Yeah, I think the sadness is in the grief, not in the death. So you know, I'm sad that my dad isn't here anymore. He doesn't get to see my children grow up.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sad that he died, because he suffered for a long time. And he got to the point he was really ready to go, and I could only really feel relief when he died. Because he wasn't suffering anymore.
Yeah.
And he wasn't feeling bad. He was suffering in front of us and causing us to suffer. So ultimately it was a happy thing that he'd passed away. There's still sadness in the grief of not having him, but it's not his death that it's the issue. It's the absence of his presence. Does that make sense?
Oh, completely.
Yeah. And so I didn't cry at his funeral. I've never cried at a funeral.
Yeah.
I don't feel sad when somebody goes. Having said that, with a caveat that, for example, with my nephew's daughter, who was 12, my cousin's daughter, who was 12, that's a little bit different. Because that was a horrendous experience, and that was incredibly sad and unfair, and you know, and I can't imagine anything worse than the loss of a child. And actually, I think that my grief over that was for my cousin, because as a parent myself now, particularly, I can't fathom what it would be like to lose a child. So I think there's a little bit of a difference in some circumstances, but when somebody grows old or is going through a long-term illness, or you know, has had a pretty decent life, and maybe they get a very sharp, sudden ending, but actually haven't had to suffer at all. You know, part of me thinks that's a win if someone hasn't had to do any suffering.
Yeah,
Because I prefer to go like that for sure.
Just end it all.
Yeah. So I don't always find death sad, is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think there's anything strange about that at all. No, because I think there is this risk of becoming quite, what's the word? I can't think, it's sort of schmaltzy around it. That's the only word that's comes.
I don't even know what that means.
Like, we kind of romanticize it, don't we, in a weird way. There is a word I can't get to at the moment that my brain is not telling me. We sort of feel like we should be, wringing our hands and woe is me. That may not always be the case for reasons you've just articulated very well. If somebody's suffering, you know, and then now they're not, well, relief, that definitely, I felt a massive sense of relief.
But then people feel guilt for feeling relieved.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, that's not a thing to feel guilty for.
Yeah. But maybe you've just got this level of emotional maturity.
Emotional roboticness.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, in the Buddhist philosophy, if you're looking at Buddhism as one example, the idea is that you don't get too attached to people emotionally, and that when somebody dies, you feel it, but you let it go. I mean, that's from my understanding of Buddhism. Please correct me if you know any more than I do. But there is that idea of not becoming too attached to any object, and that letting your own resources, drawing on your own resources to gain strength, and, you know.
I think a lot of it also depends on your belief. Do you believe in afterlife? Do you believe that things might be happening, something more, they might be going on to a new adventure, something even better and bigger and more exciting? Do you believe that they're still here and they're around you, and do you feel them? You know, I think it depends on your belief. I think if you just believe that you die and that you're worm food, I can understand that being really sad. But I don't believe that. I believe that there is more, that we're not just this one human thing and that's it. I don't believe in that. So I can only think, wow, what an adventure they're going on.
Well, do you know, that has actually crossed my mind as well. You know, I've said it before. Now, my parents both know, in some way, I believe, the greatest mystery of all time. You know, they know the answer. They know. So I can get on board with your view. I don't think personally, I don't find anything weird about it at all. Because I had lots of questions over my grief. My grief wasn't just sadness. And in fact, because my mum was ill for such a long time, we lost her bit by bit by bit by bit. That was actually more painful.
Agreed, yeah.
Losing somebody when they're present with you and you see them, but they're not the person you remember and know and love. You know, that's incredibly hard. So the end was a relief.
The easier part of the process.
Oh my goodness, because now she's gone, and I remember saying to people shortly after it happened, I can finally try to figure out what version of her I'm grieving, because I wasn't grieving the one that we left behind in the care home, bless her, because she'd just lost everything. She wasn't the one that I remembered, you know. She'd become, bless her, she'd regressed to a child almost. She was unrecognisable. Even physically it changed how she held herself and her face and her body. She was unrecognisable. So what was left was incredibly sad. I do feel incredible sadness for her, because she had an awful lot of difficulty in her life, actually. So I felt the sadness for her, but I don't think I felt sadness for me, because that had already sort of drip, like.
Yeah, I can resonate with that, because I don't know how long you were consciously watching your mum's decline, but for me, like 2.5 years with my dad.
It's about 18 months, maybe, not even that. Probably started in the pandemic. We all thought there was something a bit amiss.
Yeah.
And then it was about probably a year from diagnosis to going.
And you're right, your grievance starts then.
Because they're just not. You lose. That's when you lose them. That's the loss.
Yeah.
So I suppose if somebody just suddenly goes, that's very shocking. I mean, that is what happened with my dad. He suddenly went. But he was also older, had become more challenging, challenging personality. For me, all of this, somebody dying for me, made me turf out everything I felt about them and question it and question myself. Became quite reflective about what does it say about me as a person? What was our relationship like? You know, it's been a difficult time actually, but it's been a good time as well.
We were talking a little bit earlier about not necessarily grieving appropriately in terms of in the right moments.
Yes.
So that's interesting. So tell me a bit about that.
So today I will probably be largely fine. I don't tend to feel things in the moment that you might expect, but I'll be later, or tomorrow or next week, I might watch a TV show or listen to some music and I will just lose it. So it happened with my dad. On my birthday last year, my lovely friends all took me out and we went out and we ended up down in Southsea. There was a little craft market and we were walking around and I was just looking at some jewellery and there's a guy behind me setting up a guitar and he started playing the theme tune to Detectorists, which is, I don't know if you ever watched this, such a good show, it's so funny. And my dad was really into metal detecting. And it's a really obscure song and I've looked it up and it was written for the show. So for somebody to just start playing that song behind me on my birthday, I just went and all this like, oh my God, you know, and it just
was
sort
divinely orchestrated.
Well, there was a little story attached, I can tell you, that made me feel like, oh, something's happening. So I got over myself. I was really emotional from nowhere. I was crying and my friend was like, oh God, are you okay? And the vendors on the stores were looking at me like, what's happened to this woman? She's just completely fallen apart. And I was looking at some earrings and I bought these earrings and they're handmade by this lovely lady. And later that day I went to put them in and the post just fell off one of them. And I thought, oh, okay. So I took it back. Fortunately, she was still there. I took it back to her and I said very quietly, knowing what it's like to run a business, this is broken. And she went, oh God, I'm so sorry. I'll give them to me and I'll fix them and I'll send them back to you. And about a week later, I got them back in the post and she'd included this little shell necklace to match them as well. And I've always just felt that was my dad giving me a birthday present. He couldn't get me a present. So, I mean, the things you tell yourself, I don't know, but it gives me comfort to think that nice. Could be him. So I now wear this all the time. Because it felt like I just got this overwhelming feeling of him being there, you know. So yeah, I don't know where we came from. I've lost my train of thought.
I like that though. That's nice. I'll tell you the weirdest thing that we had with my dad is we used to have a wood burning fireplace in this house.
Oh, okay.
And I think possibly the first time we ever put it on when we moved in, and I took a photo of it. And in the flames was the image of my dad. I'm not kidding you. Like, and I sent it to people, and they were like, and I didn't say anything. Like, why's your dad in this picture? and then so I sent it to my mum.
Oh my goodness.
And my mum's like, oh my God, your dad's in the picture. And then we spoke about it, and she was like, yeah, on the bottom left. And I was like, no, on the top right. And so we looked at the bottom left, and there was an image of my dad, the way that he looked on their wedding. And in the top right was the image of my dad, the way that I knew him.
Oh, Luke.
It is the weirdest thing.
I need to see this picture.
Yeah, I'll have to find it. It'll be somewhere. It was the weirdest thing.
Wow. That's very Harry Potter as well, I just have to say, if you've ever seen or watched or read Harry Potter.
Yes.
The face in the flames.
I don't remember all of it. There's a lot of Harry Potter, and there's a lot of sleeping time during those shows.
Okay. Fair enough. That is amazing.
Really weird.
And that everybody individually saw it and without prompting.
Yeah.
Wow. What do you think then? Do you think that you were seeing? Does it feel like you were seeing something?
Yeah, I didn't see it looking at it, but in the photo it was very clear.
How bizarre. Is there any link to sort of fire? Was he into... No, it's just... How bizarre.
No, weird.
How bizarre.
Yeah. Sorry, so we started this talking about inappropriate grieving.
Yes.
As such.
So grieving at inappropriate times. So thank you for returning. So so that was that music. I guess it's not inappropriate, but just unexpected times. That not when you might think. Mm-hmm. So that tends to happen to me. Have you noticed those moments?
Yes. So firstly, just generic inappropriate grieving. When my nan died, I was like, "Can I have her fridge?" I just turned into.
That's not grief. That's just theft.
I just turn into a total pragmatist when people die.
Okay.
And even with my dad, I was like, okay, right. So we need to go into work and tell them we need to organise the funeral. We need to do this. I just go into total pragmatist mode.
Yeah, death admin. My sister calls that.
Oh yeah.
Death admin. And there's a lot of it, isn't there?
There's a lot, yeah. But I mean, it just the instant response was, can I have her fridge?
So hang on, so you found out that she died and then...
I said, can I have her fridge?
That was the first thing.
Yes.
Right, okay.
I did get her fridge. I don't know what's wrong with me. I told you.
Is that, do you think I'm going to challenge you? Do you think that's deflection of the emotion? Is the emotion maybe a little bit much in the moment? Or is it simply... Oh, I see an opportunity. Can I have a fridge?
I don't know. So I don't know if it was funny or not, but when I was working somewhere and then my colleague's grandmother died, I think it was her grandmother, they sent a card round and we'd already had this conversation, so it wasn't totally random. Okay. But I'd written, I hope you get her fridge.
Oh, okay.
And so she opened it and she didn't really laugh and she said it made her day. But part of me was like, that was risky because I was one of the first people to write in it. So the whole lot has seen me write that in her card.
They now know that you are a psychopath.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
So if anybody passes away and you come to talk to me about it, please do expect me to have an inappropriate response.
But you know what? I actually think as well, there's a lot of people who sort of tiptoe around death and around somebody who's lost someone, and actually to have someone try to make you laugh, because you still do. Like, I wrote a poem about this, which I won't share because it's quite deep and meaningful, but my brain couldn't get around the fact that when my mum was lying there, bless her, and it was her final moments, in the care home, the woman knocked the door and went, "Do you want some biscuits?" Like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Cup of tea? And, you just, life carries on and things are still amusing and weird. And you kind of still need that. I think it's important. And
I told you earlier that I used to work for a company that had funeral homes. And actually, this is where the colleague was that I just told you about the situation. And actually, the people in the funeral homes had the most wicked sense of humour.
Yeah.
You have to have a dark sense of humour. You have to make light of these horrendous situations, because otherwise you would just take it all on too seriously and it would be too overwhelming.
Yeah, agreed completely. You can't let it suffocate you. You have to still be you, but it kind of can't help still being you.
My dad always had he was never worried about death ever. He always talked about it, he wasn't scared of it. And yes, as he was ill, he was getting a bit I think he was worried about leaving us, not worried about dying. But he also had a sense of humour, and actually we would never tell us what he wanted at his funeral. He wouldn't tell us, and the one thing he always said was, "Oh, just play Disco Inferno," and so we did.
I love it.
As they cart him off to the cremation.
Really, that was a song. That's great.
We played Disco Inferno.
I love that. So my mum always wanted YMCA at her funeral, so we didn't play it in the funeral because I think it wouldn't have necessarily hit the right notes with a few people. But,
I'd love that.
But we did. I remember after the funeral, we came back to my house and we all had like pizza in the garden, Domino's or something, and we were all just trying to process what just happened. And we played YMCA and all danced around, and it's a lovely memory with the kids and everything. She would have loved that.
Yeah.
She would have loved that. James, my husband, he wants Return to Sender. It's quite a good song.
Yeah, no, I like that. For me, and we also all wore colour to my dad's funeral. We didn't, we didn't have black. We all wanted to wear colour. So I like stuff like that. For me, it should be a celebration of life, not a commiseration of death.
Oh gosh, absolutely. And part of me thinks, how sad is it that we have to die for that to happen?
I know.
Can't we have a living funeral? Let's do it. Sounds really weird.
That? Someone did that?
Ross did it in Friends.
Oh yeah, that's
Surprise!
true.
I'm not dead.
But you're right. No, someone did it. Oh God, who was it? I don't know. I've seen this somewhere on TV recently.
I think it's such a nice idea to do something to appreciate each other.
It might have been in Schitt's Creek.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Oh my God, I'm trying to get Katie to watch Schitt's Creek.
Apparently it's my sort of
She
thing.
can't get past the first episode, which I
can't.
get, but oh my God, it is so good.
I think I might need to drink some wine and watch it. Maybe
You just
that's
got to
what
plough
we'll do.
through the first couple of episodes.
Okay.
It's the best show to ever hit TV ever.
If I watch it with you, are you going to be that person that goes, "Oh, there's a good bit coming
Yes.
up"? Are you really? Okay, well, I'm not watching it with you then. I have to watch it alone.
So
You can't do that to me.
It's so good. Sorry.
So it's Schitt's Creek where you saw the living funeral.
Maybe. I feel like I've seen it semi-seriously somewhere as well, like a real person did it. I don't know. But I mean, it kind of makes sense, really, because we don't really... you kind of bump into family members only at weddings and funerals. I'm like, when do you just stop to celebrate being a family? Like, we don't.
I know.
We just do it at weddings and funerals.
Yeah. We have family things. We do, but with the sort of close family.
Yeah,
the
but I
people
mean, like,
that you see
but I mean,
all
like,
the
all the
time.
cousins and the aunties and uncles and everything. Like, you never get together unless it's for something like that. I mean, at least we don't. So we don't really stop to celebrate being a family, being connected, celebrating each other's lives, saying nice things about each other.
Yeah.
We just bitch about each other our whole lives, and then we get to the funeral and go, "Oh, they were lovely."
I know.
And I'm like, well, actually, you just bitched about them for the last 40 years. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I never understood that, why people memorialise these people and say all these wonderful things about them. I mean, there's a really good meme that goes around on Facebook that's something like, Barbara was a pain in the ass when she was hungry, but otherwise pretty solid.
Yes,
something like that.
it was on a park bench, wasn't it? Somebody's got that inscribed on a brass plate. What a great honest truth about people.
I just feel like, at my funeral, I want people to talk about the good, the bad and the ugly. And I just want it to be a celebration of truth and realness. And but also I don't want to wait for people to say that. I won't be there to watch it, will I?
No, well, exactly. How sad is it? I just think it's really, really sad.
Yeah.
So, what are you saying? We need to throw a big party
in honour of me. Oh, thank
in
you.
honour of me.
I just call it a narcissist party.
But why do we think of it like that, though? We should appreciate each other more.
Yeah.
You know, appreciation is super important. It's part of what I do in my coaching, which I can now officially call myself.
Yes.
But
Katie graduated.
I did.
Right word,
so I haven't really made it public yet, but I have officially passed my coaching qualification. So now I'm officially a Time to Think coach. Which is weird, me saying this here now, because when I made the announcement I wanted to move into life coaching, it was on the anniversary of my dad dying. So we've kind of come full circle. Weird how life can do that. Yeah. Little synchronicities, as Carl Jung would call them.
Well done.
Thank you.
So I'm looping back again to inappropriate times to grieve, or weird time. So for me, I'd never cried about my dad dying or at his funeral or anything. And then watching The Theory of Everything. Okay. It was like my second or third date with Alex.
Okay.
And we went to the cinema and we were supposed to be going to a party afterwards. And we watched The Theory of Everything, which is about Stephen Hawking, motor neuron disease, which is what my dad died from. And I was just a blubbering mess throughout the whole... I didn't know people could act that well. So Eddie Redmayne, if you haven't watched it, I mean, I didn't know it was possible to act the things that he acted.
Wow.
It was just remarkable, but it broke me.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And then so it's like my second or third date with that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
And then it's like, should we go to the party? I'm like, no.
Oh, bless you. You do have emotions then.
Yeah, but like you, it comes out at a weird time.
I think though that would be an understandable time, because you've literally just had your life mirrored back to you in a way you weren't expecting as well. The unexpected nature of it. So for me, I can't watch it yet. There's a film called The Father with Anthony Hopkins, and he has dementia, and it talks about that. You know, it portrays
the same thing.
And I can't. It came out a similar time to when I think Mum had not long died, and I couldn't then. My brother and sister have had the emotional strength to be able to do it, and I don't know if I can now, because I think I would just be a sobbing mess the whole way through, reliving how it would have felt for her. Yeah. Which is just agonising to think about how it would have felt for her.
I couldn't watch Theory of Everything again. And then my mum wanted to watch it. I was like, I'm sorry, you're on your own.
Oh, really? Has she seen it already?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I suspect it would be challenging.
Yes.
Yeah, oh bless you.
But it does happen.
Yeah.
But that's the only time that I've done formal grieving as such. But then, of course, these things also completely reshape your life when you have significant loss. And so for both of us, you know, kind of led to meltdowns and burnout and then course correction. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, because you suddenly realise, I think, for me, tell me what you think, I suddenly realised, gosh, this is it. I'm alive now. It's now or never. You know, if I want to do something, I'm going to have to figure it out and start doing it, because literally anything could happen. And I think for me, because it was my mum and then 3 months later my dad, it sort of pulled the rug out from under me, and I was just like, oh Christ, anything can happen. Yeah. Which is a great thing to remember. This idea of security, and I think we've talked about that before, is really not, it doesn't exist.
No, it doesn't exist.
There
are no guarantees of anything.
So coming to terms with that, it takes time, but when you do, you go, right, well, now is the time. What do you think? Does that chime with you and how you experienced?
Yeah, so I think that I watched my dad work 90-hour weeks for his whole life and never make it to retirement. And then I thought, why the fuck would I do that? I'm going to retire now, thank you very much.
Yes, well, yeah.
Effectively. As in retire from what I should be doing.
The 9 to 5.
The 9 to 5 corporate bollocks.
The grind.
You know, going to work 5 days a week, something that makes me miserable, just to live for the weekend or live for my 4 weeks holiday a year or whatever. What's the point?
I know, and we get sort of sucked in, don't we, by these, oh, you'll get this much money, and oh, you get a car, and oh, you get, I don't know, this bonus and that sort of, and it's all very, oh, shiny. And then, you know, it's like having a new phone. You know how you get all excited, oh, I've got a new phone, and then you go, oh, it's exactly the same as the old one. The shine wears off.
I saw a really good quote the other day, and I wish I could remember it, but it was something along the lines of, like this kind of 9 to 5 thing is the biggest addiction we'll ever have, because it kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but you know, it just keeps you in. You get rewarded. The high is that you get paid, or that you get holiday, like annual leave, or you get security. Like the highs that it gives you, but what you have to do to get that high is entirely miserable. And it just keeps you addicted in this cycle, in this loop, in this just doing and continuing and doing it. It's that kind of an enforced addiction.
That's interesting.
On us, and people are too scared to break that cycle, to come out of that addiction, because it's all that they know.
Yes, that's very interesting. I'd love to, if you find that again.
Yeah, I need to find it, but it was very interesting. I mean, I just told you in 100 words something that was in about 3 words, and I can't remember what it was,
Okay.
or even if I've done it justice. But, effectively, it just explains that the reward that we're doing it for, do we really need it? Is it really worth it? Do you really want to give up your entire life for this, like, the goal that we're told we should have?
And that's what other people close to you dying gives you, is the perspective that on their deathbed, if they are capable of reflecting, it won't be, oh, I'm so glad I stayed late at work for 20 years. It will be, why didn't I spend more time with my kids? Why didn't I do that thing that I really want to do? Or it'll be all the, or I'm so glad I did that thing with my family. Or it will be about people and experiences and love and friendships and
dreams.
It won't be about work.
No.
Unless you're doing something super passionate that you're passionate about, but it won't be about being in an office for,
But we commit so much of our lives to work. Why?
It kind of defines us if we're not careful.
Yeah.
And so then when you have a change, when you lose a job, made redundant or whatever, your identity is just, who are you now? Well, I think I think this is why we connect so well, because we both feel that very strongly, that life is not about
the grind.
The grind, no.
Unless you really love it, or you really live for it, is it worth it? Majority of people, if you say, if you won the lottery, would you go back to work tomorrow? They'd go, no. Then why are you doing it?
No, exactly. Let's have that awkward conversation with ourselves about what we really want. It takes courage.
And actually to recognise how little you can live on.
Yeah, and we've said it before, haven't we? Just getting on the housing ladder, for example, constrains your needs for earning. You have to then earn enough. If we thought about it differently, what could we do? I mean, it's in this environment, and talking about Western cultures as well, we can get into a whole other debate. It's quite difficult to make that change. Really
hard, because the world's full of fear. The media is full of cost of living crisis. We are physically seeing things get more expensive. It's all fear, and worried that we won't have enough.
No,
it's hard.
But what is enough?
Yeah, I mean, as a human being, what we need is food, warmth, and shelter.
And connection, I would argue.
Yeah, but there are needs.
Yeah.
We could survive without connection, potentially.
Oh, there's another topic.
Wouldn't necessarily thrive. But, they're what we need. Everything else truly is a want or a desire. And so how much of that want or desire are you willing to forego to have a happier life?
Yeah. These are really big questions, and I think to get to that, that's why it takes such a big life event like death to make
you reevaluate.
Yeah,
we can sit here and tell you all day long, but until you've felt that feeling, you're not going to take any action. No. And you might not even take action after having that feeling. You might still feel fearful, or not. Might not feel emotionally or financially equipped to do anything. So we're not saying here just to go and leave your job.
Gosh, no.
But we're just saying that from our experiences, it was a big catalyst for us stepping out of what we thought we should do and into what we want to do. Yeah,
absolutely. It changes your outlook. And I don't regret that. That's the interesting thing. I am happier, I have to say, as a result of that shadow, that darkness. It's brought other stuff into contrast, and I've set myself on a better path. What do you think?
Is it you that said choose your challenge or something? Like, going to work every day might cause you a level of stress and challenge, but equally being self-employed will cause you another level of stress and challenge. So it's like, what challenge are you more comfortable with? Choose the stressor and go with that. Because life, we're not just sitting here saying life's rosy by any means.
No, but I think we're saying once you're aware of who you are and what you want, you can make better decisions
that are more in line with yourself and what you're happier with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think so.
And breathe.
Yeah.
So where are we at?
I got a fridge.
You got a fridge? Well, that's fabulous. I mean, what more could anybody want? I mean, I did, when my parents died, I did take a load of their cleaning products and, you know, I'm trying to think what else, maybe a little bit of furniture. I've got a nice bookcase now.
Yeah. Yeah, this was my nan's, this chest of drawers and that barrel over there.
The barrel. You know? That's rather beautiful.
It's nice, isn't it? That's what I cut myself on just now.
Ah, okay, when you were panic cleaning.
Yeah. Maybe it was just my nan saying hi.
Maybe.
Could have been in a nicer way.
I was going to say, a bit of a vicious way to make your presence felt, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Let us know what you feel about grieving and losing a loved one. What has it inspired you to change in your life? And what has it made you realise about yourself, learn about yourself? Absolutely. And what are your inappropriate grieving moments? Because we like those too.
Oh, please do. Yeah, there's got to be more. It can't just be us. Please don't let it just be us.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.